Hi, targeted survivors. Hi, YouTubers. This morning is the pinnacle of my realizations. I've come to a point where I actually understand why, what, who, when, and how. It's taken me some time to get here, but I think because I've been doing my degree, you're stimulating the old grey marbles up there, and your thoughts become a lot clearer, which is quite difficult as a TI. I'm sure you're all aware, as I have been, that your thoughts get quite scrambled a lot. Just if nothing else, just simply the stress of what we're going through. But basically, I figured it out, and now that I know and understand, it's just, I feel like a bit of an idiot for not realising it before. And wanted to get my story out as soon as possible. And this has been about 6 months of knowing who did it and working out exactly why, and then finally coming to the realisation of, boom, of course this is the reason why. So I had a business partner when I lived in Thailand. We had the nightclub together, and he's British born but lived in Australia and worked in oil, so he was, between countries a lot. And once he came to Samui, the island that I was living on, and said that at work, when he was at work, he's a chef on the oil rigs, he'd opened a oven and the pressure had built up and it knocked him out, and he'd been in hospital. And I was like, bloody hell, I knew nothing about this. So I'd just been wondering why I hadn't been able to get hold of him and where he was, etc. So I said to him, well, what if something ever happened to you? What would happen to the business? Would everything just go to your wife or your family, or, where does that leave me, etc.? So I said, how about we get a contract drawn up so that if anything happens to you, I get the Thai business only, and if anything happens to me, you get the whole Thai business. And he said, yeah, no problem, I totally get that, So we had these contracts drawn up and we both signed them, and that was that. Never thought about it again. And I know that he hacked his wives. I know that he hacked them. He told me that he did. He was keylogging them and reading their emails and stuff like that. I remember when I first got back to England, finding an email and it had a keylogger and a Trojan virus, and they'd come from emails that I'd received from him. It's just so obvious. So he obviously wanted me out of the business, and he wanted to, knock down the nightclub and build a new one and spend all of this money, and then didn't want me waltzing in, claiming that, it was mine. And if anything happened to him, he obviously wanted it to go to his families. I've obviously fallen out of favour with him, which I had. I was a bit of a prick in Thailand. I wasn't very nice. I was engaged to an absolute arsehole, and he was making my life hell, and I was so stressed out, and he was just sort of saying things to me all the time. And if someone says things to you constantly, it's almost brainwashing. You tend to believe them, that everyone's against me and we've got lots of haters out there, and I wasn't treated well enough in the business, and my business partner was taking the piss out of me, and yada, yada, yada. Just all this shit all the time. And I remember the first couple of years, I was constantly just sort of saying, what are you on about? You're a nightmare. And then after a while, you just stop. You can't be asked to listen to it anymore. So you just go, okay. But when someone is, whether you agree with it or not, someone is constantly saying the same thing to you day in, day out, I guess it must have some sort of effect. My business partner probably thought I was doing too well. I remember he seemed quite jealous at one point that he was working and I was living in Thailand and had this great life, and he was on the oil rigs and things like that. But I used to say to him, well, come out and live in Thailand then. There's nothing to stop you. But he said, you know, I'm going to retire at 50, but, you know, you can't retire until you're 50. You can work as hard as I've worked. And he just seemed to be annoyed that I was younger and we were doing well together at the same time, but I was younger, so I was going to achieve success maybe before him. I don't know. I know that he... we stopped being very close. We were really close before that. And I know that my ex had a lot to do with it. He drove a wedge between us. It's a long story, but anyway, he ended up obviously being very suspicious of me and thinking I was doing all sorts behind his back. And I guess the result of which, I mean, God, you don't know if something happened to him. Imagine if my business partner was driving down the road and someone tried to run him off the road, or if someone picked a fight with him or pulled a gun on him, something crazy like that. If he put 2 and 2 together and got 5, he might think I'm behind that because I want to keep the nightclub to myself. I can say, hand on heart, I would never in a million years even think about doing that. Even think about ending someone's life, or I would never ever, I swear on my son's life, I would never ever do that. But how does he know that? If he's become suspicious of me, thinks I'm in cahoots with my ex, who's a bit of a dick, bit of a nasty person, he might think that, you know, all of my old morals are out the window and I just want the nightclub for myself. So something might have happened to him that has threatened his life. He's thought I'm behind it and thought, right, bitch, see you later. And, you know, he told me he's got, I think, 8 or 9 brothers. I think they were all separated when they went into foster homes, when they were shipped from England to Australia when they were younger. But I know one of them was a policeman in Australia, one of them works in MI6 in England. He used to say that all the time. My brother works in MI6, and we all know these programs have got a lot to do with governmental agencies, and all you've got to do is piss someone off that's got connections. Well, I pissed him off, obviously, or he thought I was up to something, and he's got connections. So I just remembered this contract that I've got sitting upstairs, and the first thing I'm going to do, so that he knows I would never do anything bad to him or have no ill intention, is send it back. I'm going to send it back and just say, I hope this proves that you know I don't want anything to do with the club, and I don't ever expect to claim on it ever for the rest of my life. And fingers crossed I might be left alone in peace. You know, I had apologised to him for acting like a dick the last couple of years I was there, which I really did mean. I did mean that. And I am gutted if he thinks that I would ever hurt him or do anything bad to him. And I'm also gutted that a fucking bit of paper, a contract, made this happen. And at the end of the day, it's all to do with money, isn't it? And property. Fucking evil shit world out there. But anyway, enough of the dramatics. I've actually got there. I've actually figured out why, who, what, when, where and how. Everything slots. Everything fits and makes sense. Everything. So I'm going to get that contract posted as soon as possible and hopefully move on with my life. Fingers crossed. I mean, you just never know, do you? But all I can do is wish and hope. So that's me. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Over and out.